What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Dylan, the Technicus guy. Today we are going to be migrating my Home Assistant, and I'm going to show you guys how to install Home Assistant on a non-Raspberry Pi computer because it's kind of weird. How are you lovely human beings doing? Today, like I said, we're going to be migrating my Home Assistant. So this came about for two different reasons. One, I have been wanting to make a video on actually setting up Home Assistant for a while, since we've been doing other Home Assistant videos on the channel. I've been wanting to do a video on how to set up Home Assistant for a while now, since I already have a couple of videos that relate to setting things up in Home Assistant. I wanted to do a video on actually setting up Home Assistant. And the other big reason is because 2 or 3 times in, I would say, the last month and a half, for no particular reason, my Home Assistant has just died. And when I say died, I mean it basically just crashes. It stops working, no matter, it doesn't seem to have any kind of rhyme or reason. It's just, I'll be doing something and I'll get the connection lost and it just won't come back. I'll go to ping it, it pings fine. I'll go to SSH into the machine and I can't SSH in. At first, I was thinking this was like a one-off issue, but then it happened again. On the second time, I was getting a little worried. On the third time, that's when I knew I had a problem. So I don't actually know what the problem is yet. I'm assuming it has to do, right now I'm running Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi 4. My theory is that either it is overheating occasionally and going into like a throttle state and then just crashing. That's theory number one right now, because there is a heat sink on the Pi, but there is not a fan to circulate air over that heat sink. So, and Home Assistant, it does kind of, has become very important in my home. Theory number two is that the SD card is dying that is inside of the Pi, and it's still working, but, you know, on its way out. And theory number three is that I have hit a point where my Home Assistant is just too much for the little Pi to handle, and it's just dying. Now, theory three is theory three because I do not think that that is true. Most people are running a Pi 4 or even a Pi 3 for Home Assistant instances, and a lot of the people who I follow that have smart homes and are building similar smart homes to what I would like, you know, full local control, no reliance on a cloud somewhere, most of them have way more advanced smart homes than I do at my current state. I'm getting there, but I don't think that I'm killing the Raspberry Pi 4 8 gig model that I have sitting in my rack. I have a feeling it's either the SD card issue or the overheating issue. The plan is I'm going to future-proof my Home Assistant setup. I'm also moving it to way more reliable hardware than an SD card. Now, you guys do not have to do this. I want to stress that. The whole first part of this video was to tell you guys that if you're starting out running Home Assistant, if you're looking to get into this, go with a Raspberry Pi. Or if you really want to not do any work, go with one of their cheap pre-made devices. They're essentially built on Raspberry Pis. Home Assistant is designed to run on a Raspberry Pi. You don't even need a Pi 5. It would be nice, but most people that I know run it on a Pi 4. I use the 8 gig model personally, but that's just me. But you do not need any kind of powerful machine to run Home Assistant. The reason that I'm doing this is because at this point, Home Assistant is not some fun little experiment for me. Home Assistant is absolutely mission critical. Home Assistant has made a place right next to my security system, you know, and other things, because the automations that I've started building and whatnot all make life a little bit better. So it's become mission critical. And as much as a Raspberry Pi is perfectly capable of handling Home Assistant, SD cards are not. SD cards are fine until they don't work anymore. And this is a known problem. Micro SD cards especially are susceptible to failure at a certain point. Now, yes, every storage medium, every drive is susceptible to some kind of failure. But micro SD cards are highly susceptible to failure if they're long-term use of read and writes. Okay, so just replace the SD card, or be like Jeff Geerling and put an NVMe drive in the Pi. I put one in the server. See that video up here? I don't want to do that because there's kind of a shift that I can do, right? So I can move Home Assistant to a mini PC, and that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to grab it in a second, and then I'm going to show you guys how we're going to install it. So I'm going to install it on a mini PC on an internal, NVMe SSD that's inside that mini PC. The mini PC has 16 gigs of RAM, which is significantly more than Home Assistant will ever need, so I don't have to worry. With all of that said, let's get into it. So I'm going to go grab mini PC, and then I'm going to show you guys how to get started downloading all of this. And this right here is going to become the new Home Assistant PC. This is a mini PC from a Chinese company called Camrai, something like that. It's spelled like samurai, but with a K. This little guy, you can pick these up on Amazon for like $100 to $200. Again, this is very, very, very overkill for Home Assistant. You do not have to do this. You can run this on whatever little tiny computer you have laying around, or you can flash it to a Raspberry Pi like a normal human being. But if you don't have a Raspberry Pi, you don't want to spend money, and maybe you have a computer laying around, if it turns on and if it was made within the last 15 years, it will run Home Assistant. This little guy, way overpowered for what it's going to be running, but that's fine by me. I like overpowered. Overkill is underrated. This has a Jasper Lake N510. Okay, so before you do anything involving migrating Home Assistant, if you're setting up, you can skip this part. I have time codes down in the bottom. You can see the little description bar thing. You can skip this part. But if you're migrating, the first thing you want to do is take a backup. Come over to the settings, go to System, and then you can go to Backups. So Home Assistant takes auto backups periodically, but you can also tell it down here in the bottom corner of the screen to back up now. You can wait a couple minutes and it will back up. And then once you are done with that, you can come in and you can actually download the backup. You can see I ran a backup 14 hours ago. This is the one that I ran. This automatic backup here is actually a Home Assistant automatic backup, but this second one here is the one that I ran. Once you are done running it, you can come over here and download it. That is going to be really nice for me because once I'm done installing Home Assistant on the new computer, I won't have to go through and reset everything up. I will basically just be able to drop the backup in, change my DHCP reservation in my router, and I'm off to the races. But that's all stuff for another day. This is just setting up. Anyway, so you have your backup. Now you get to go download. Welcome back. If you skipped the first part of the video, now this is for you. So you're going to want to come over to home-assistant.io and click on Getting Started. Now, right here, they tell you you can buy their Home Assistant Green, which is a ready-to-go box for Home Assistant. It's got everything you would ever need for Home Assistant if you're a normal person. So if you don't like to build computers and stuff, but you want a smart home, go with that. It's great. Everyone who's ever gotten one said it's really cool. Or you can DIY with a Raspberry Pi. That's their recommended way of doing it. You can install Home Assistant on the Odroid devices. I don't know what those are. Apparently it's a more powerful alternative to a Raspberry Pi. Or there's the one that most people who don't have a Raspberry Pi and want to install Home Assistant are going to be doing. Installing it on an x86 or 64-bit machine. You can also run Home Assistant as a container, but you shouldn't. You just shouldn't. Run Home Assistant OS. It's gotten really good in the last few years. They constantly update it and make it perfect. Just run Home Assistant OS. Do not, normally I'm all about containers. Don't run Home Assistant in a container unless you are purely testing it out to see if you like it. We're going to click on View Tutorial. I'm not actually going to read through this entire tutorial because I already did. Also, it's not relevant to me. So I'm just going to come down here to the generic x86, x64, and we're going to scroll down. Now, I really wish they would just give you the download button, but that's okay. I am. So not only will I have the how-to from Home Assistant linked in the description, I'm also going to have a direct link download to the most recent version of Home Assistant in the description. that should save you guys some time. All right, so this link right here is the link that you need to go to. I will have this down in the description. As of right now, it is the most recent version. See, I already have that downloaded, so I'm not going to download that again. Now, in their guide, they tell you to use Balena Etcher, which is a fantastic software, and write it to a flash drive. I don't think you should do that, especially because later on they then tell you how to actually install it on the computer. Because if you write it to the flash drive becomes the Home Assistant instance. It's not actually like writing a Windows ISO or a Linux ISO, if you've ever done that. It's actually going to try to write Home Assistant, the OS, to that drive. That's not what I want to do. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. What I want to do is actually install Home Assistant OS to the drive inside of this. It's a perfectly good NVMe drive, so there's a method that's a little different. Now, this is the part where Nabu Casa, the parent company that makes and maintains Home Assistant, really needs to do a little bit more work. They have been doing fantastic work in the smart home community, especially it being that it's an open source community. They make amazing stuff. They're doing great. However, the method to actually install this on a computer's hard drive is stupid. What you have to do is boot into a live CD and then burn the image that we just downloaded to the hard drive. The same as if you were writing it to a flash drive. There's no like installer. I'm aware you could also remove the drive and flash with a dock, but that's more complicated for newer users. I maintain a flash drive that I call Ventoy. Well, I don't call it that, that's the name of the software, but basically this flash drive is a 128 gig flash drive that I have all of the various operating systems that I would ever use or need on, and I can just boot any one of them at any time. I will probably do a video on Ventoy at some point because it's a tool that I love and use all the time. But basically, it's a bootloader for a flash drive that lets you just dump ISOs. So you can see in here, I have a ton of ISOs already. Proxmox stuff, Windows, Linux, a Steam Deck one, TrueNAS. Any ISO I ever download gets thrown in.
What's up? Editor Dylan here. That for whatever reason, I could not boot from Ubuntu on Ventoy and get it to work. It would not burn the image, it would not format the drive. I don't know what's going on. So what I ended up having to do was use Pop! OS, which seemed to work just fine. The big problem was I had to put a second flash drive in with the Home Assistant OS because for whatever reason, no OS could read the Ventoy stick. So you will need a second USB drive.
So what I'm going to do is actually just grab this. I'm going to put it on there so that way I can boot into Ubuntu from this flash drive and then burn that to the flash drive. If you're not comfortable doing that, I'm going to show you how to do it. The process is really easy. In a normal situation, what you would need to do is make an Ubuntu CD key. I still would say just use Ventoy. Even if you're only using Ubuntu and you're never going to do anything else, go set up Ventoy. Because what if you want to? What if you want to later? Like I said, I have a video. I'll do a video on Ventoy eventually. There are other ones, though. Really good ones. Go watch those. We're at the workbench. It's a mess. And I've got my keyboard with a mouse here. I got the mini PC here, plugged into power and HDMI. It's not actually plugged into power because it will turn on automatically. But I got my flash drive in here. Got the keyboard and mouse hooked up. I'm going to plug it into power. I don't have a way to screen record the monitor yet. I'm working on it. I didn't want you to boot into Grub. Okay. Once you guys are in your machine of choice, right? This is not Ubuntu. Yours may be Ubuntu. This is Pop! OS. I prefer it. You're going to want to come to your applications. However you get there on the live CD. On Ubuntu, it's going to be a little string of dots. You're going to type in disks. And you're going to find the drive in your computer that you want to install Home Assistant on. In this case, I have this 256 gig drive in this mini PC that has nothing on it. I'm going to click the three dots. I'm going to click Restore Disk Image. I'm going to go to my Zippy. So this is a second flash drive that has the image on there. I know earlier I said I was going to put it on the other flash drive with Ventoy and all that. I kept running into issues with that, so to make it easier, I just grabbed another flash drive. I'm going to select the Home Assistant generic OS, and I'm going to say Start Restoring. And then I'm going to say, yes, I want to do that. Okay, so that took, I'd say, about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. I wasn't really paying attention, but so you can see here, we have all these different little partitions here with looking like the biggest partition. So the biggest partition that it created, I mean, you can see here, we have 254 gigs of free space, and this is a 256 gig drive. This does not mean that you only need 2 gigs for Home Assistant. I'm going to leave the free space here. You should too. Don't touch it, because Home Assistant OS, once it boots up, will see that there's a bunch of free space and it will handle partitions. And I'm going to restart this thing. And while it is restarting, I'm going to pull out my flash drive so that way it does not boot to the flash drive. So I want it to boot to Home Assistant. You can see it is booting. This is normal. So this is what Home Assistant looks like when it starts up. Remember, this is designed to run on a Raspberry Pi. This is what Raspberry Pis look like when they boot up. Actually, this is what most Linux operating systems look like when they boot up, unless they have some kind of fancy boot up animation that the developers have taken the time to put in. Home Assistant OS, unfortunately, does not have one of those. I don't really care, because once it's running, I'm not going to have a monitor hooked to this machine. It's just going to sit there and do its job. So it says waiting for the Home Assistant CLI to be ready. If you don't know, CLI stands for Command Line Interface, and there you go. So it does not have any IP address information because I don't have it plugged into the network, but it does have the Wi-Fi card and it does have an Ethernet card. So that's it. I mean, Home Assistant is installed. You can put this on your network now. Now, if you want to put it on Wi-Fi, you will have to plug it into Ethernet first. But yeah, so Home Assistant's installed. There's no kind of setup process. Now that you're here, you can log into the web page and set it up. So we're back at my desk here. I plugged that into my network. All right, so you're going to want to open your web browser. If you're installing Home Assistant and this is your first time installing it, you may get lucky and your network will see it, and you'll be able to go to homeassistant.local:8123. That makes it really easy. One, not all networks will do that, but your mileage will vary. Two, I cannot do that in my environment because I already have a Home Assistant running. So if I try to go to homeassistant.local:8123, there's going to be a fight. So I have to go to the IP. Now, you may also have to go to the IP if your network also does not support that DNS function. A couple different ways to get that. One, when you install it and you boot the computer up, on the screen, as long as you're plugged into Ethernet, it will tell you the IP address. That's the easy way. You don't have a screen hooked to it, you will have to log into your router and get the IP address. I'm not going to show you how to do that. Look up your router if you need to pull the IP and you can't plug your Home Assistant device into a screen to see the IP on that. Look up how to log into your router if you don't know. Go into your DHCP leases and you'll find it. It should be labeled Home Assistant. I know the address is 140 in my network, so I'm just going to go to 10.19.21.140:8123. Do not forget the 8123, because if not, you'll get an error because you'll be going to the wrong place. Now, right here, we are in Home Assistant, so it's ready to set up. If this is your first time, you're going to click Create My Smart Home. It's going to walk you through the setup process. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, guys. This was more of a video on how to install Home Assistant on a not Raspberry Pi, and kind of my complaint that there's no actual installer and you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. To you guys, this was an easy process. To me, I had to go through 3 different OSs on my Ventoy stick before I found one that would actually flash the drive. That is not a problem you will probably run into. I think it's my fault. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it. Home Assistant, set it up. The best way is to use a Raspberry Pi. That's really all you need. If you don't have a Raspberry Pi and you don't want to buy one, you can set it up on any computer, but it is a little annoying. you have to boot into some kind of live environment like Ubuntu, or in my case I used Pop! OS and that seemed to work fine. You have to go into the disk and you have to restore the disk image that you download from Home Assistant to the device. Once you do that, it's installed, you're good. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you want to get notifications when I upload, ring that bell. You ring it and ding it. Magic things happen. So anyway, I am Dylan, the Technogiz guy. I will see you in the next video. But until then, remember, keep it peaceful.